3781. And I think we're ready to sail. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, November 3rd, 2010. Today's guest is Harry Schwartz from Lisbon, Connecticut. He's known as Chef Harry, a media chef, author, and spokesman. Chef Harry Schwartz and his wife now live and own the Heritage Trail, Vineyards, and Winery in Lisbon. Started and sold several restaurants, authored several books, and was a regular contributor to the Today Show and the popular PBS TV show, Chef Harry and Friends. He's written several books, including Grazing, Chef Harry and His Celebrity Friends. And in 2010, Chef Harry teamed up with the Defense Commissary Agency for the United States military and the National Watermelon Promotions Board. Eat Healthy and Be Active Your Way campaign. Well, good morning, Harry. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Bruce. Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about your life and how you left in central United States and owning a scrap metal business with your brother to restaurants, to a vineyard, to watermelon spokesman board. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's such a bizarre combination just listening, to tell you the truth. But I have had a very interesting life, and there's been a lot of loving and supportive people involved that have made my life a very rich one. And I was raised in Iowa, and I was an obese youth, and we were a privileged family, and my mom's a great cook and actually taught me to cook. And
oh, wow.
Pardon me?
I said, wow.
Yeah, she's was kind of a Martha Stewart before Martha Stewart, and is really talented with interior design and cuisine and its presentation, and she taught me a lot about the importance of the guest versus everything you're doing. It is really arranged around pleasing your guest and making your guest feel comfortable in your home. And I think it was a great lesson. I always loved to cook, and learning to cook was easy, but how to treat a guest, I think, is more of an art, and how to entertain a guest and make people feel comfortable and entertained in your home is truly where I think the talent comes in that my mom had that she taught me as well.
Very interesting. So you went to Harvard Business School.
I went to Grinnell College to undergrad, and after Grinnell I studied accounting at Harvard Business School, and that's where I met my wife, Laurie, and Laurie was going to Tufts University, and we met through a friend.
Wow, wow. So you left Iowa now, and then you went to Harvard and to college, and how did you get into the scrap metal business?
And right after I got married in the early 80s, the privileges that my father had worked so hard to provide his family all went away, and our net worth went away with them. And it became a financial struggle for our entire family, including Laurie and myself. And my brother's first wife found an opportunity, presented an opportunity to my brother and myself, and we met with a gentleman down in Tulsa who was interested in selling his company and financing it completely, which worked with our plan since we had no money. And Laurie and I went down, and I took over the company, and it became very successful. And during the building of the company, Laurie and I did a couple of restaurants and a bakery, and I was on the board of the Philbrook Museum of Art in Tulsa, and during an expansion, Laurie and I put the restaurant, Cafe at Villa Philbrook, in the new wing of the museum, and really had a great time in Tulsa. And then in 1991, we sold our business holdings in Tulsa. We moved to Jupiter Island, Florida, and lived on the beach on this little island for a little while. And I started a catering company in North Palm Beach and had a great time doing kids' parties and fundraisers in Palm Beach. And then came out with a cookbook Laurie and I did together. And she had befriended Roger Ailes, who at the time was head of NBC News. Today he's head of Fox News. And she sent him my book, and I got on the Today Show in '96, and that launched the career as Chef Harry.
And now a word from my sponsor. How would you like to save money online when booking your next vacation, cruise, hotel room, or car rental? Well, you will. According to the international travel marketing firm, Topaz International, 70% of the time you will save more money booking as a preferred customer with my vendor than with the other online companies, and you won't get the leftover rooms or cars either. It's free to register as a preferred customer. Just go to the cruisewithbruce.com website and click on the register link at the top of the page. Then fill out your profile to be alerted to the best buys for trips that you'd like to take. Anytime you're booking a car or a hotel room or want to go on a cruise or a vacation, be sure to look at my site first. For more information on the program, click on the info or 100% guarantee links at the top of the page. You'll be glad you did. And now back to our program.
Wow. So it kind of makes sense that you had a bent towards restaurants and cooking. Do you have any, my brother went to restaurant to become a chef. Did you do anything like that? Did you take any schooling up or?
You know, later in my life I did. I went to Paris and studied pastry at La Veranda École de Cuisine, and I taught at Greystone CIA and worked with a corporate chef program out there when we were living in Malibu. And I studied a little bit with Giuliano Bugioli when it came to making pasta and things like that. But again, I think my mom was certainly gave me the foundation. And then there was a really great series by Time Life back in the 70s, and it was called Foods of the World. And it was, I had a subscription to that, and I got every one. And again, I was obese, and my social mechanism for my life was really cooking and getting people to come to my house and feeding them. And so Foods of the World took me to a whole nother level. And then, you know, traveling, I also, you know, just was exposed to so much great food that it certainly became a passion.
Absolutely. So you mentioned Paris in there. How long did you spend time in Paris?
We've been to Laurie and I. Laurie lived in Brussels and also in Mexico City for a lot of her foundation years, and is very used to traveling and speaks 5 languages. And my mom, our first trip abroad was when I was 4, and we went to England and Scotland and Ireland. And my daughter also was educated in the UK and just spends a lot of time in Europe, and so we've been traveling a lot. I don't even know how long I've spent in Paris, but I think that program that when I went was for 10 days when I studied pastry. And then in college I had also gotten in with Au Bon Pain, which was a bakery chain in New England, and used to get up and work with the bakers and learn. I wanted to learn how to make bread and pastry. I've always been obsessed with bread, and so that was really my professional and formal training, but very, very limited. It's, amazingly enough, I've ended up, you know, teaching a lot. And I was told I was the most innovative chef of the decade at Greystone CIA in Napa, which really, I love the word innovative. I think it's really the preferred word as a compliment as a chef, because people have been cooking so long. I don't know if there's much originality anymore, but I was also educated by Julia Child and have that PBS mentality where, you know, chefs work together and create together, and I never really bought into the Food Network philosophy of screaming and yelling and competing against each other rather than working together. And I think I'm definitely much more of a PBS type approach than I am a contemporary approach. But I'm old, so that explains that.
So you've had a varied. I mean, you've studied with a bunch of people that are renowned in the field and well known and innovative. Is a very interesting way to describe somebody, especially in that field, which means that people that go to your restaurants and your restaurant now will have a unique experience that won't be matched anywhere else. And I must say myself that when I went down for dinner or lunch that day and had a tasting of those wines, it was very, very, it was an excellent meal, had a great time, and I would recommend anybody to spend some time at your vineyard and talk to your staff who come around. It's very, very personal. So
we really like it to be.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
We want it to be personal.
And it shows. It shows. It really does. It's not just you eat and you leave, or you taste the wine and you leave, but you interact with yourself and your wife and the rest of your staff, and Amanda was excellent, coming around and making sure that we understood what we were drinking, and the food was great. So the chefs and the people that were in your kitchen were excellent. It was a great experience and unique. I had not had food arranged that way. It was tasty, and the wine was great. So very, very interesting. Now, you were in Jupiter Island.
Yeah.
And how did you get to go to Malibu?
Well, when I did the Today Show the first time, it was, again, growing up obese, you are typically ashamed of yourself and embarrassed and don't want to be seen. And growing up that way and then ending up on the Today Show was it was an experience in itself, and the story of my first appearance is probably longer than what we have time to talk about, but it ended up being a very exciting experience, and they made me a regular, and I got to know, a lot of really famous people, and Jeff Zucker, who was head of NBC Entertainment at the time, was head of the Today Show, and we really hit it off, and they made me a regular, and after that third time I did the show, I got a call from an agent in L.A., and they were interested in talking about being, a professional on-air chef and having a show, and it was of interest to me, and I think very exciting thought to my wife as well. And we went to L.A. and met with an agent that we ended up not being impressed with, but she introduced us to a publicist that really became not only a great publicist but a great friend and helped build my career very rapidly. And we ended up moving to Malibu in '96, at the end of '96, and started producing with MTW Tampa a celebrity at-home cooking show called Chef Harry and Friends that ended up being a riot, and it ran until 2005. And I cooked with celebrities ranging from James Earl Jones to Coolio to Dennis Franz to Phyllis Diller to downtown Julie. I mean, just had a riot, and we lived in Malibu until 2001, and during that time I got to create for Starbucks and Ben & Jerry's and Bacardi Rum and Starkist Tuna and some great vineyards and wineries. We shot with the Smothers family in Sonoma and the Firestone family in Los Olivos, and just really had a great time, and I learned a lot, and was able to receive a lot of training on messaging and on spokespersoning for companies and articulating certain messages that these large corporations wanted to get across, and ended up doing a lot of satellite media tours, and really learned a lot about the entertainment business and live news, and enjoy live. And when we lived in LA, I was CBS food guru for KTLA and had a live segment 5 days a week, and was all over with my own crew, and I produced, wrote, created, and it was really fun. And I also was syndicated by Copley News Service for a weekly newspaper feature, so I was always getting to create and fly around and be treated to really great experiences and create limitless criteria for a lot of corporations, and had a very unique exposure to the culinary field in many different ways. And I started doing the shopping network in probably the late 90s, and started out on HSN and then went to QVC, Canadian Shopping Network, and went to QVC in the UK. And really had a connection with the camera, and Shop at Home Network in Nashville by Scripps hired me to develop the cooks category for their shopping network, and got a place in Nashville, and got to really get involved in television production, not only as a host and as creator, but as a producer and a director, and to work with the camera people, and then to work with the buyers and design merchandise ranging from cookware to mini choppers, and then launched to huge success, and ended up doing $75 million of kitchenware at over 48 months, and really was treated to a very exciting experience in my life. And then, you know, I was working on my fifth book's message, which was about family well-being, particularly relating to childhood obesity and wellness. And that's when I got sick, and how we ended up in Connecticut. But it's been a wild ride.
Oh, really? Wow. So you went from, you lived in Upper California for a while.
We lived in Malibu. I spent a lot of time in wine country, but we never lived in wine country. Laurie and I lived with our daughter with the Firestone family briefly on their vineyard in Los Olivos, and we created for the family, as well as shooting a show there for my series with Justine Bateman, and really had a good time. And but we never lived the vineyard life until we bought this, other than our experience with friends like the Firestones and some others.
Very interesting. Right. So you came to Connecticut after you got sick.
Yes,
and
we were.
What was the reason that? What made you pick Lisbon in this area?
We had a place in Miami, and Laurie and I have had a home in Maine since 1988. And our house in Maine at the time was in Falmouth Foreside on Route 88. And it was a very, it was a place that I felt really good. I've always loved Maine. I fell in love with Maine when I was at Harvard. And we went to that house, and I had a heart attack. I was working on my second series for PBS that was based on my fifth book, as I said, and it was with the University of Miami's nutrition team. And so I was in Miami. We had a place there, and as well as a place in Maine, and I had a heart attack, and then I had another follow-up episode, and we were on tour, a sponsored tour, and doing the show and developing a couple more books, and it just was something that I felt I wasn't going to be able to do and remain healthy. And so we went to our house in Maine and established a criteria for how we wanted to live the rest of our lives, and we just put it down on paper and then started doing a search, and we knew we wanted New England, and Laurie and I have never lived in Connecticut, although we've lived in Maine and Iowa and Florida and California and Oklahoma have never lived in, and had places in Manhattan, but never had lived in Connecticut and always loved it. When I started doing the Today Show, we contemplated moving to Ridgefield. I fell in love with a house there, and we almost moved there, and then the Malibu thing came up, and so we ended up moving to Malibu instead. But I've always loved Connecticut, and where we are, as you know, or you're 2 hours from Manhattan, you're less than an hour and a half from Boston, you're 45 minutes from Providence. There's lots to do, lots of history, and I really love antique homes. And the John Palmer house that we're in is 1785, and there's so much history here. And the property's very romantic. And we looked in several states over about 6 months. And this property really was one of the first ones we looked at, and I wanted it from the beginning, and we exhausted our other options just to confirm that this was right for us, and then began the build-out 30 months ago when we bought it, because it was really a dump and pretty much uninhabitable, and of course there was no restaurant and no B&B and no event pavilion and outdoor kitchen or dining room or anything like that. And so we had quite a good time creating and developing the project itself, and are just putting the finishing touches on Heritage Trail. The signage goes up finally, and will be done probably by the end of November.
Wow, very good. Now, the vineyard is in the back of the property, or is it somewhere else?
No, the vineyard is here. We have 38 acres, and Laurie has 2 vineyards. There's the Whites, which is 4 acres, and there are the Reds, which is also 4 acres but less developed. And the previous owner was from Northern California and planted the vineyard, both vineyards, and this became a boutique winery in 1996, and then fell into disrepair in the early 2000s.
Wow. So it takes 7 to 10 years to get the vines to the point where you get good grapes off of them, and it's been way longer than that.
Yeah.
But you probably had to bring it back from disrepair. How long did that take?
Well, the southern vineyard is finished, and the northern vineyard is probably still has 2 years to go. As far as its plant out, it was really sad, and I think it's a never-ending. Just with any agricultural business, I think it's a never-ending process and evolution, and I don't think you ever get it the way you want it. But our long-range plans include additional acquisition of acreage and additional spirit-producing produce. I think we're going to go to some berries as well as grape, and do some fruit trees, and expand our production in quicker ways, because, as you said, it takes many, many years for grapes to reach their full production. So we're going to continue to plant grape as well as speed up our production level by quicker fruit-producing agriculture.
Right. Now, the vines, since they were here, are the hardy vines that are planted, but you've got grafts on top from which regions of the world, or from California, or
no, actually from Europe, mostly from France, and also from upstate New York. But what the previous owner had done was take winter hardy stock and then graft varietal to it, so that we are producing some very unique varietals for Connecticut, which is probably one of the reasons, as you mentioned earlier, that you found our wines somewhat unique for Connecticut, but yet really authentic. And it's because we've really stuck by the cold grape and the local grape in all of our production.
Right. It's a completely different way to grow grapes here compared to California, where it's very dry. They got to worry about water. Here we got to worry about getting rid of water and wicking the water away from the vines so that you don't get the molds and stuff like that. It's probably more similar to the European, the German terrain and the German area.
You're exactly right. We're on the
vineyards.
same latitude as Lake Como. And it is, this also, we had a geologist and historian who happened to come here to eat, and was very familiar with this area and the development of the crust during the, evolution of the Earth itself. And apparently this is a microclimate, and this area was at one time underwater and then became an island and evolved into what it is today. And so it's extremely fertile and loamy, and it is very European in its climate here. It's very strange. We used to come down from our house in Maine, which was less than 3.5 hours from here, and the temperature would change 30 or 40 degrees, and we could have 3 feet of snow, and the ground here would be bare. It was very, very strange.
Yes, that's the part of Connecticut that they usually, up north where I am in northern Connecticut, we have snow and they have sleet or rain. Interesting area because of the Long Island Sound and all the rest of it, and you got the air blowing off of the Sound, which helps because you got a little more wind down there, so it dries out the vineyard. And if you go into the Moselle region or the other regions in Europe, they grow the vines on the sides of hills because you can pick up updrafts, and you got the draining of the water so that you don't get molds and funguses growing. Interesting. So you've got a new operation there, new for you, a couple of years old, and you've got plans for the future. And you got any other international travel in your future? What was your favorite country to visit?
Well, we love the Alsatian region of France. But I think my favorite country is Ireland. There's a very special place in my heart for Ireland. I've never been, but I'm very eager to go to the Greek islands. I was teaching in California and worked with a chef who was so lovely, and she was from an island in Greece, and I loved her style, and I loved how she used ingredients. And Laurie and I would love to go there someday. I'd also like to go to Bermuda, but I'm just not very interested in leaving the vineyard, to tell you the truth. There's no place that I'm just really itching to go. We go into Manhattan quite a bit, and so we get our taste of city life and city cuisine. And I'm always happy to come home to Lisbon. Really love it here.
Yes, it is. It's a unique area, and Connecticut's a unique area. I think it's a great area. I love Connecticut because, like you said, I can go into the mountains and snowshoe or ski in the winter, or cross-country ski. I can go down to the beach within an hour. So it's an hour for us to the beach and an hour to the mountains. New York's 2 hours, Boston's 2 hours. Maine, Kittery and all that area is a couple hours. So there's access to so many different things in Connecticut. And I think the vineyards and the wines of Connecticut are going to become as important as the vineyards and wine in California.
Well, I think that they're more affordable and they're more approachable. And I think you also have much less ego here and much less competition here. And wine in Napa has become celebritydom. And here we're still farmers and still proud of our product and still very active in each step of the way. And so you have here probably what Napa was like 30 or 40 or 50 years ago. And I remember reading on I think it was a Southwest flight, about the Firestone family being renegades, and they showed Mr. Firestone on a tractor getting ready to plant the vineyards. And you know, I mean, my gosh, there have been pioneers in the wine industry since biblical times, and I think you're right in that Connecticut is emerging as an important wine trail. But I think because of our climate, we'll always be limited in our production. And I think because of our climate, we'll always be challenged in our production. And I think also because of the climate, you know, you're never going to see, you know, cellars that are actually built of Connecticut wine because of the, you know, the limited production. So whether or not this grows into a Finger Lakes experience or you know, Virginia experience, I don't know. But all over the country, the wine industry is exploding. We have noticed just in our limited time here, you know, huge growth in the wine trail and an interest in wine. And, you know, we sell out of a lot of our labels. And we weren't expecting that at all. We make about 2,500 cases a year, and we think that's a lot for a little farm in Connecticut with a restaurant. We don't sell it anywhere but here. We don't take it wholesale. And so we're shocked by the amount of wine that is being purchased just at our place alone, let alone the 30 other wineries in Connecticut.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And, I mean, I bought a bottle that my cousin is actually going to be here next week, and I bought a bottle of one of my favorites that I had at your vineyard and restaurant, and I'm going to share it with her because she's from the Napa region. Actually, her stepson owns a vineyard in Napa, and they keep talking about this wine, and I've had it. It's very good, but I'm going to kind of tease her and tell her she ought to switch over to Connecticut wines.
Well, the Californians,
out of that.
You know, they really do look down their nose on us, and all cold grapes, you know, is considered well, lacking compared to Napa and Sonoma and all of California. But you know, I think food and wine and partners are very subjective, and I think there's things that trip your trigger that are very unique, and I don't think there should be any ego in wine. I think you know, it's an agricultural product, and we are all trying to make the best flavors that we can and get the most production that we can, and so. You know, I hope that, and I just believe that our Connecticut wine industry will never lose track of the fact that we're farmers. We are agricultural first. We are relying on our soil and our climate for our living and our livelihood, and we're still nymphs in this industry, and so there's a lot of room for growth and a lot of knowledge that's yet to be gained, and I think there's a lot of opportunity here too.
Absolutely, I think so also. It's a great region. There are a lot more difficulties, like you said, and whether it ever gets to that level. But, you know, this is new in Connecticut and the Northeast. New York and Upper New York, it's been around for a while, but Connecticut, it's relatively new, only the last 10 or 15 years, and I think a lot of that is because of people that have lost their jobs in Connecticut. So many people have lost their jobs, and they're looking for something that they would love to do, and they've always thought about doing, and now they're looking at industries like this, and they're opening up businesses and industries and farms that they may not have opened 10, 15 years ago when they were gainfully employed. So there's a lot of people that are going into this industry and into this type of business.
Well, Bruce, also, it's one of and the state of Connecticut is incredibly supportive of the agricultural industry. And it's very unusual to receive the kind of support that we've received as not only a new business, but as an agricultural business from the state itself. And they make it very accommodating to be a farmer here. It's encouraged. They'll help you. They provide tons of support, and it's kind of a wide I've been in a lot of different businesses, and it's a very wide contrast between being a farmer in Connecticut and just being a small business owner. And we have found it absolutely shocking that the industry is supported by the state, and that the wine industry in particular is like a camaraderie of people who work together with the same goal. And they're Sharp Hill up near you. They also have a high-end restaurant and have a lot of very popular, great Connecticut wines. And they're the first vineyard to send people here, and vice versa. And Gary Crump in Colchester, everybody's super supportive of each other. We are one of the newbies here, and people go out of their way. The other vineyards and vintners have gone out of their way to show support and to help us develop a clientele. And it's been an amazing experience. I think that you're absolutely right, that people have become very frustrated in careers and in corporate life, and with all of the frustrations of working for someone else. And when you find an industry that's not only romantic, but also can be profitable and receive support from the government, it's kind of a trifecta. And it can be, not that it's not a lot of work and not that it's easy, but it can be a way to develop not only a career but a lifestyle that is very pleasing and exciting at the same time.
Right. As I've got a ag background. I actually went to vocational agricultural high school, so I'm very familiar with the state's partnership with agriculture and with farms in Connecticut and so on and so forth. And we have several low ag schools. There's one in your area. There's one up in the Mansfield area and Suffield. But there's about 6 or 8, unless they closed a couple of them in the last 25, 30 years. But they're very supportive. In the last couple of minutes, I want to talk about, you've got a gelato there. Talk a little bit how you got into that.
I love ice cream. And
ice cream.
I love ice cream. And I also used to sell a lot of gelato makers and ice cream makers when I was with the shopping network. And, I have cardiovascular disease, and there are just things that I don't want to give up, and ice cream was certainly one of them. So developing our gelato became a pretty significant activity, and I've made gelato thousands of times and have tried many different formulas. And when we decided to introduce gelato here, we just went back to basics, and I use local milk, and it's from Odalski Dairy about 5 miles from here, and organic sugar and Madagascar vanilla and a touch of cream, and we make a very rich, dense gelato that tastes very high fat, that has a fraction of the fat of ice cream, and it's also chemical-free and preservative-free and stabilizer-free. It's just very basic, 5-ingredient natural base. And, it, of course, has a much different metabolic reaction to your body than processed foods with mono and diglycerides and high-fructose corn syrup and all of the things that are typically found in gelato that's made on a commercial basis. And so we just went back to our philosophy of local, basic, and came up with this recipe that really seems to be popular. It was on the New York Times Food and Wine blog that you had to go to Piazza San Marco to get gelato as good as ours, and we're very proud of it. And we don't really talk about the fact that it's almost healthy for you. Our chocolate's really high in antioxidant, our cinnamon's really high in antioxidant, our pumpkin is super healthy for you, our lemon is high in vitamin C, and so it's kind of like, I certainly wouldn't recommend eating a pint, but if you have a scoop of our gelato, it's actually healthy for you, and I'm always scared to say that because all of my experience on air over the past 15 years has been that if you bill something as healthy, they're not going to like it, and so we just try and bill it as delicious, but it's actually not so bad for you.
And now a message from our sponsors.
Are you looking for sales? Check out the website for11sales.com first. That's for11sales.com. There you will save money on thousands of products and services. As a PayPal certified store, you are protected, and the item you've been looking for will arrive on your doorstep in a few days. Just dial 411sales.com on your browser's address line to visit our website and learn more about everything you want to buy before you buy it.
And we're back.
We've got a couple of minutes just to get some more information about your vineyard and about the watermelon board into the program. And you can listen to this archived at cruisewithbruce.com. Just click on the Cruise with Bruce Blog Talk Radio icon at the top of the page. Anyways, so you were talking about the gelato, and that's interesting. You've done everything with local materials, and I'm an ice cream lover myself, so I'm going to have to try that next time I go down there.
I'm eager for you to sample.
Pardon?
I'm eager for you to sample it. It really is. It's really delicious.
Absolutely. Well, we were so full in the last visit, and we had so much wine and everything else. I said, "Oh boy, I'm just over full." And next time we're going to try your desserts, because you have homemade desserts and you have the gelato and you have other things to try, and maybe do a couple of different combinations that are different and maybe not a meal. At any rate, so you're in Connecticut, and all of a sudden in August, September, you were approached by the Watermelon Board, and now you're the spokesman for the Watermelon Board. What do you do with them? What's your purpose for working with them?
My purpose. The watermelon people. This is actually my 10th year as being recipe creator and spokesperson, and the Watermelon Man, as I am billed in many places. And they've been great and a super sponsor, and they were involved with the tour that ended up being why now I'm working with Obama administration and the military on Eat Healthy, Get Active Your Way. And the Watermelon people have been wonderful sponsors and friends, and have always really appreciated my ability to message and also to create. And if you go to watermelon.org, you'll see that now I've created almost 150 recipes for them now, watermelon recipes. Wow. And they keep challenging me to do more, and it's like, I've done 150 recipes with watermelon. I don't know how much further I can go, but as you know, my quest to get America's youth healthy grew.
Well, it was a great program, Harry. Thanks for coming on board. To my listeners, I hope that you found today's program interesting and informative. I appreciate all of you who share my lineup with your family and friends. Thanks for tuning in today's program. For more information about Chef Harry, his restaurant and vineyard in Lisbon, Connecticut, you can go to my website, www.cruisewithbruce.com.